I'm here in my home office. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday, a break, and you're healthy and you're safe. And I've decided to use Google Meet. It turns out that with Google Meet, I can do a lot better presentations and more effective than using VoiceThread. It's easier and it'll be easier for you to access. I'm trying to keep my cough under control. Now, I'm going to be sharing the PowerPoint presentation for Chapter 9, and I will also post a quiz for Chapter 9. Okay, but let's go over presentation for Chapter 9, and which is the second half of the presentation of the creative chapters. Chapter 8 we did already. Now we're doing Chapter 9. Okay, so I'm going to be presenting now by sharing my screen, and hopefully you'll all follow along really well. Okay, so Chapter 9 deals with the second half of what's known as being creative, which deals with advertising appeals, which is how do we approach the getting the consumer's attention. In other words, what are we going to do? Are we going to try to be funny? Are we going to use emotions? Are we going to use rational appeals? And then the second part of it is how are we going to execute this? How are we going to be funny? How are we going to be romantic? How are we going to show in very quick and attention grabbing ways information like gotta brush your teeth, or no vaping because it's bad for you, or don't drink and drive, things like that, or for whatever brand you're following. So the creative execution is how we're going to turn the appeal into a message that captures the consumers. So when we think of informational or rational appeals, we think of things that are functional or utilitarian, and we have to emphasize that. What do I mean by that? Well, people who brush their teeth have no cavities, or have 87% fewer cavities than people who don't brush their teeth. Okay, because of fluoride. So, for example, that is an information and rational appeal. So people say, well, I want a healthy mouth. I do want healthy teeth. So I better brush my teeth. Okay, purely simple, rational. Now, so when we talk about these rational appeals, what we're going to be looking at is different types of rational appeals. So one of them is the features. So for an iPhone 12, it's the camera, screen size, speed, so on and so forth. A competitive advantage appeals is it compares us to our closest competitor, and we tell people why we're better. We have more protein in our protein bars. Our phone battery lasts longer than, let's say, Samsung, or the other way around. So these are comparisons, and they're done only if you have a major advantage. Another thing about competitive advantage is if you're the number one product, meaning your market share is number one, you're not going to compare yourself to number two. But number two always compares themselves to number one. So does number three, and so on and so forth. Another way we can do it is price. You say, hey, Southwest Airlines goes to the same place as United in a nice, safe environment, but we fly for less. So you get a cheaper air ticket. Okay. And we can do a whole campaign like Southwest did called Transparency, where they made up the word for, I don't know what that word, transportation and fares, meaning how much you pay, I guess. And they tell consumers that they don't charge all these fees that other airlines charge. Cable companies do it versus Fios. A lot of companies do things where they have a distinctive price advantage, where the consumer feels that what they're being charged is also unfair, like baggage fees, or certain sales taxes or long-term contracts. So these are the things that we can point out in an informational, rational appeal that deals with a price advantage. Now, what if your product is in the news for doing something amazing, like kale? I'm not a big fan of kale, but what if it says news says that kale makes you stronger, gives you more energy in a natural way, and it's much healthier? Well, if you're a manufacturer of kale products, um, you would want to tell people about this in the news. Popularity is also important. People like to know that a product is popular because popularity also shows in people's minds that if so many people use it, it must be good. So experts are recommended, number one position in the market. You can also look at Amazon reviews, favorable. You can look at how many likes on social media, shares they have. Anything that shows that a product is popular makes us feel safe to buy it because other people have already theoretically tested it. Now, the other side of informational and rational is emotional, and that these relate to our social psychological needs for purchasing a product, and it has to do with how we feel about the product. Because in purely rational world, and I'm saying this while recording on a MacBook, um, a Dell, an HP, a Chromebook would be just as good and a lot cheaper. But we're going for Apple, at least I did, because I really like the brand. I've used this since it came out in the 80s, actually came out in the late 70s, but I started using it in the early 80s. And I've always felt comfortable and I feel it works. And I'm emotionally connected to this brand. And, or you're maybe emotionally connected to your phones, whatever brand they are. It's usually an iPhone or Samsung at FIT. So all these positive feelings are transferred to the brand, and this builds up brand loyalty. Now, are emotions rational? No, they're not. Emotions make us do irrational things, but we do them for psychological reasons. For example, we've had a really hard day, or we've had a really hard year, 2020, and we say, you know what, 2021, I'm just going to look forward to a year where I can just feel great, and I'm going to celebrate it by whatever. And I don't care what it costs. I just need to get away from 2020. Or, you know what, I graduated. I put in 4 hard years at FIT, and I feel so good that I'm going to go out, buy myself a really expensive graduation gift. So it's a celebration thing. Emotional appeals are very strong. They involve love. They involve self rewards. And when we do these things, some of them are here as well: self actualization, pleasure, sentiment. We just finished running a marathon, nostalgia. And that's why people buy products like the new Atari game that's coming out. So, all these things, whether they're socially based, personal, or are drive us to action. And a lot of those actions, a lot of times, involve purchasing something, whether it's a good, meaning a tangible good, a laptop, a phone, jewelry, whatever, or it's a social thing, taking friends out to dinner, having brunch, um, socializing. All these things are emotionally based, and they're very, very powerful. So, emotionally based campaigns, they usually generate large profits because people who are acting emotionally are not shopping around for the best price. They just want something. Um, they're usually more effective than emotional and rational, even though I will tell you this: the consumers will always justify their emotional with a rational kind of thought process. They will rationalize it, as they say. Now, the transformational ad is this Corona ad. And this Corona ad is transformational because it doesn't give you any logical reason, but at the same time, it associates itself with the beach. all Corona ads in some ways have the beach. And we associate these positive feelings of relaxing at the beach, the sun, the warmth, the vacation, the detoxing from our everyday. And all these get transferred into Corona. So when we buy a Corona beer, if you're over 21, when we buy a Corona beer, we buy it and we feel good. And well, we know we're not at the beach. We know we're in a happy hour place after work, but we still associate it with the beach. The power of the human mind to associate and transform is what these transformational advertising is based on. And this is an example of that. Now, a few definitions that you have to know is reminder advertising. And reminder advertising is about basically reminding us that summer's coming and it's time to have a Coke, or baseball season's coming and Budweiser associates themselves with baseball, or Mother's Day is coming, or the holiday season is here, or and products associate themselves with that. Um, let's say Snickers associates themselves with Halloween, right? So we just naturally do this repeated exposure, meaning that we show people ads over and over again, where just by reminding them that we're a brand that they should not forget to buy. Okay, this only works for established brands. It doesn't work for new brands because you can't be reminded about something you never heard of before. Teaser advertising is very interesting. What a teaser advertising does is it doesn't um, tell us what the product is, so to speak, but it kind of builds it out that it's upcoming. So sometimes we build expectations. So, for example, the new season of a show, the new Apple, you know, launch of a product, um, the new line of fashion at Fashion Weeks, new sneaker. If you follow The Rock, he's got his own brand Armour, under Under Armour. Okay, it's very hard to say. I apologize. And he's got these running shoes and all sorts of products. And he said he's always like, "Hey, new products are dropping in 3 weeks, in 2 weeks." Or social media is great for teaser on movies by showing you how they're being produced and stuff. So it builds curiosity, builds interest. A lot of times it's used for product launches. So teaser advertising is about building up demand way before the product is launched. Now, if you are the generation who's very immersed in social media, so and you generate content every time you take a picture of yourself or your friends, and any type of content that's generated by you as a user is called user generated content. Okay, so let's look at the different types of advertising executions. Okay, so the first one is called a straight sell or factual message. Straightforward presentation. Now, keep in mind that the difference between the next one, scientific and technical evidence, versus a straight sell or factual message is what information is presented. So if you are having anything that has technical information, scientific information, any type of data, like 14 out of 15 college students do better with a college degree than if they didn't have one. All right, let's make that up. That's technical, scientific, it's data, right? As opposed to people who go to college do better than people who don't go to college. That's just a factual message, so to speak. So scientific evidence is what differentiates the two. So if you see an example of a commercial or an advertising execution, which you will on quizzes, you have to know the difference between straight sell or factual message versus scientific or technical evidence. So, for example, over here, You see here 97% less breakage, total repair. All this is scientific. Okay. A demonstration is when we actually show how the product works. All right. So because I am using Google Meet, I am able to show you a demonstration. So let me go into YouTube and I will show you a demonstration ad, which I find funny. So this is for Blendtec. Sorry. This is their campaign. So let's just say, will it blend Justin Bieber? That's one of my favorite presentations. Okay, it's a 2-minute one. We may or may not watch all of it.
Blend? That is the question. I was so excited for Justin Bieber's new movie, Never Say Never, to come out on DVD. When I went to the store to buy the movie, I noticed Justin Bieber had other things. No music career would be complete without your own action figure and screaming girls. What a bitch, Justin. What's with the unicorn? He's got CDs, a movie, and his own auto. But we all know I'm a rule breaker. Pizza is just so good. My first date has been sort of mythologized. I took her to King's, a buffet restaurant. Yes, I wore a white shirt. Yes, I got spaghetti. Now, wouldn't an autobiography be more appropriate for someone who is legendary? Maybe if we blend all of his accomplishments together, it might turn into something with a little more substance. I think I'm going to press the play button on the Blendtec Total Blender. Woo! Concert smoke. Don't breathe this. Oh, look. This kid's got talent. He could be legendary.
Okay, back to the presentation. Now, we can see that when we do the demonstration ads, and I hope you enjoyed that one, it shows how the product works. What are the advantages? So in the case of the Blendtec, it really showed amazingly how powerful the motor is to chop up through all that. And it's one of the top most professional blenders out there with Vitamix. But Vitamix ads are boring. Now, here's the interesting part. When you do a comparison, it's very easy. Why is this better than that? But you can combine a demonstration between two products. And they do this in infomercials a lot, where they show your vacuum cleaner versus the Shark vacuum cleaner. So you can so if you say that, then you're combining comparison, Shark versus a traditional vacuum cleaner, and a demonstration. Okay. Now a comparison can be done without a demonstration. You can just say a Tesla gets more miles per charge than any other electric car on the market. Okay. And you don't have to demonstrate it. You can just say it and show proof. Now, a testimonial. Now, keep in mind, there are two types of testimonials. There are the types that someone gets paid for. Like if a celebrity gets paid for a testimonial, they're a product endorser and they get paid for it. However, when somebody writes a product review, and they're not getting paid for it, whether they like it or they don't like it, a testimonial doesn't have to be positive. It can be negative too. Testimonial is, hey, this is my experience with a product. And they give details, right? We have a lot of that on, let's say, shopping sites like Amazon. So a testimonial can be paid or unpaid. I'm sorry, a testimonial can be paid or unpaid, but if it's paid, it's an endorsement and it must be declared. In other words, if you have a celebrity doing like, or an influencer doing stuff for products, they have to announce that they're being paid for it. Now, I know they don't always do it, but they should. That's the law. Now, a slice of life is about a small part of our day. So, for example, a mother's trials and tribulations trying to get a small child to eat breakfast because they're very finicky. And what is the solution? Well, the solution is your brand that tastes good, is nutritious. So so the slice of life is there's a small part of a consumer's day where they have challenges. It could be anything related. It could be, how do I keep track of all my appointments? So the solution is Google Calendar. It could be, how do I make a great meal and stay healthy, but I only have 5 minutes to do it? It could be a meal delivery service like, a Blue Apron or other solutions. Or it could be a protein shake. Now, what's interesting to this is the opposite is slice of death, which means what are the consequences when you make the wrong decision? It's used in business to business, as you see. Um, so, for example, what if you don't have automatic subscription-based shipments of toner cartridges for printers, and you have big presentations in your ad agency and you ran out of printer cartridges? You can't do your presentation and you may lose a client. That's a slice of quote unquote death advertising. And you can use slice of life also in humor. Okay, you just exaggerate something. So let's do a slice of life kind of humor thing. And we're going to go back to YouTube. And we're going to look at Allstate. Mayhem commercials. Let's look at, I don't know, pick this one.
GPS. Turn right up ahead. You never update.
Let's start again.
So now, I'm your GPS. Turn right up ahead. You never update me, so now I just have to wing it. I meant turn left up ahead. Recalculating. Turn right now! Your cut rate insurance may not pay for all this, so get Allstate. You can save money and be better protected from mayhem. Like me. Recalculating.
Mayhem is everywhere, so get an Allstate agent. Are you in good hands?
I'm your GPS.
All right. So as we go back into our presentation, you saw that a slice of life has to do with car insurance. Unfortunately, people get into accidents, but they created a humor around it and a character called Mayhem, played by that actor, and it illustrated what could go wrong in a car. And they used the words cut rate insurance, meaning other insurance companies that charge you such low rates, but they're not there when you need them. Okay? So that used a slice of life, unfortunately, a terrible time in someone's day if it happens, and humor to illustrate that. Animation is very simply using animation, cartoons. Now, we use animation a lot of times because we want to illustrate something that's very difficult or kind of gross to show if it isn't animated. For example, killing roaches. You don't actually want to see dead roaches on your screen, so on your video. So we draw them out, or we use animation to show how sometimes indigestion products that fight indigestion work, because we're not going to cut open a person and actually show it. So and they're very good at use with children. Children love cartoons, and animation is an appeal that's very much used with children. A personality symbol is either what we have here, KFC, or mayhem. So a personality symbol is more like a mascot that we're kind of associating with that product. So it could be mayhem for Allstate, the Colonel for Kentucky Fried Chicken, the clown for Ronald McDonald for McDonald's, that creepy Burger King guy for Burger King. And personality symbols, if they're successfully done and well done, they actually, the consumers become a fan of them. And their personality transfers over to the brand, and we associate the two. It could also be, in some occasions, real people. Steve Jobs was a great personality symbol, but it was a real person that transferred to Apple and made Apple great. Imagery is very important in advertising. And of course, if you look at fashion ads or luxury good ads, you see these bright, beautiful, amazing photos that actually make us feel something. And imagery is extremely important, especially in social media advertising. And we're actually being driven more and more by this image advertising with strong images, defining images. So one of the last ones is dramatization. So basically, we want to blow out of proportion the consequences of not buying a brand or not using a brand. And for example, it could be something as actually, let me show you this. So, Head and Shoulders dramatized what it means to have dandruff. Um, let's look at the commercials from the 80s. Make the screen bigger.
My first meeting with the chairman. How about this? Oh, it's very, maybe. Something wrong? Okay, you enter the world's largest mahogany paneled office. You meet the chairman. He says, I've heard good things about you. He thinks, what's with that dandruff? Dandruff? That's my first impression. I shampoo every morning. You could shampoo morning, noon, and night with regular shampoo. Won't do what this does. Head and Shoulders? You don't have dandruff. Exactly. Head and Shoulders. Because you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Now, let's imagine that line. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And your dandruff can create a bad first impression that you may never recover from. That's what we're talking about dramatization. Now, dandruff is a normal thing. People lose skin cells all the time. But what Head and Shoulders did is they focused on that single benefit they have, and they made it the most unappealing factor that could affect, in that case, a promotion. So you have to offer a problem, and then you have to offer a solution. But the problem has to be magnified. So we have conflict, increase in action, a climax, a resolution, all that stuff in 30 seconds. Humor is self-defining, right? However, the problem with humor is, and also the same problem we'll see if we use sexuality in an ad, is that with humor, not everyone finds everything the same things funny. So we could be, let's just say, maybe found insulting to some people or just not funny. The other problem with humor is that something is funny once, maybe twice. So once it's not funny anymore, we have to create new ads to keep the funny going. So it's actually campaigns focused just solely on humor tend to cost more because you have to create more and more humorous ads so the consumer cannot just be tired of the same old joke, as it were. With sexuality, is that um, some people may be turned off by it, depending on their religious views, their lifestyle views. And so we have to be very careful when we use humor or sexuality in an ad. And the last one is combinations, and I've discussed them as during the video. Is when we combine different ones, and they can all be combined together. You can do animation with humor and slice of life. You can do any of them combined. So for a quiz, you would actually need to know and identify what the combinations are in the question. Now let's talk about print ads. A print ad has three parts: headlines, which are direct or indirect. Yes, I'm going to go over them. Body copy, subheads, and a slogan. So let me show you an ad that I use for to illustrate this. Oops. Okay. Gonna load up. Now this is an ad that David Ogilvy wrote for what? Oh, all right. Try a different one. Okay, perfect. Do this one. Okay. So if we look at this ad over here, and I'll make it larger for you. Maybe not. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. It took us a little bit of time, but we got here. Um, as you can see, this ad right here has a visual right there, the car. It has the headline here, and this is a direct headline because the Rolls Royce name is in the headline. It also has a sub headline. Now, the reason why this is important is that there are times, okay, and I'm making it larger. There are times when we have so much body copy, which is right here. The words in an ad are called body copy, that we need to have an additional headline, which we call a subheadline because underneath the main headline. In case people don't read all this, we give them additional information. So, for example, at 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in this new Rolls Royce comes from the electric clock. That tells us a benefit of how quiet the car is. Okay. And it has the name of the product and the brand, which is makes it direct. What makes Rolls Royce the best car in the world? There is really no magic about it. It is merely patient attention to detail, says an eminent Rolls Royce engineer. Now, this subheadline reinforces the headline here, but in case you don't read all this, it gives us a lot of information that we can just, if we only read these two things, we have pretty much a lot of what we need to know, meaning that the car is high quality and expensive. Okay, so when we look at this parts of an ad, and it's the same thing in digital as well, because when you click on something in an ad on Google or social media, it's the headlines. So the headline's job is to get your attention, your interest in the rest of the message, hopefully. So a direct headline is straightforward and informative, but it also has the brand's name in it. An indirect headline sometimes identifies the product and sometimes it doesn't, but it's not straightforward. So yes, I'm saying some things that are not there, meaning on the PowerPoint presentation, but it's also accurate. So, for example, the ad they use here for Kiwi shoe polish, this is an indirect headline. Keep also in mind that the headline, that the importance of the headline is that it attracts and it defines who the user is. Meaning, it tells you who the ad is targeted to. So if you say save money on your mortgage and on your mortgage payment, it identifies the people who should read the ad are people who have mortgages. And that is someone who's a homeowner. This one, if these shoes could talk, they never stop talking, is very indirect. You don't know if you're talking about the brand of shoes or what they'd be talking about. So this, theoretically, people would be like so curious what the shoes would be, never stop talking about, that they would read the rest of the ad. And we mentioned subheadlines, also body copy. Body copy are these words. Oops, sorry. These words. All the words that are not in the headline or the slogan are in the body, meaning the body, the ad. And that's called body copy. We have a copywriting class here you'll be required to take, AC231, which is all about writing this stuff. Now, visual elements are what do you want to have that's not written? It's the company logo, photos, graphics, all that stuff. Their job is to attract attention, especially in outdoor advertising. You see big posters. The layout, and you need to know these definitions, is how they are arranged. Meaning, this is a layout, right? This could have been done 1,000 different ways. It has a nice, cute image. The Honda jumping on the guy's head. I don't know what it's supposed to mean, but it's interesting. Okay. Now, the layout is how everything is is arranged. Yeah. So, for example, over here, the layout is the shoes are at the bottom and the body copy is around them with the headline on top. Over here, the layout is sort of like the photos is kind of sort of integrated into this, but there's not a structure that's like top, bottom, middle. Okay, so the art director can create any look and feel for the ad that will be interesting to the consumer, not boring. So here's a couple of things that you're not responsible for. You're not responsible for anything on this slide or anything in the book that relates to this slide or this or this or this or this or this because a lot of it is incorrect. So if we stop just at the where I stopped, I believe it was with the description of the print ad, and then we're fine. So this is for chapter 9. Please keep in mind all the things that I covered, and there will be a quiz that will be uploaded today. It's now 2:30, so I would say by 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'll be finished writing it, selecting the questions, and entering into Blackboard. Um, and I will give you up until you'll have a week to do it. But I'm also going to be uploading chapter 10, and chapter 10 will be your last quiz. That'll be quiz number 7. And both of them, you will have a total of 2 weeks to do it. So, more or less like 10 days. So, by December 10th, which will be 11 days, start from tomorrow, you should be finished with these quizzes. Okay. Um, and then all we have to do is move forward towards the final exam. And I'll be posting a video on how you should go about the final exam. The final exam will be posted around December 17th, and you will have up until December 21st to take the quiz. Okay. So, any chapters that I post after chapter 10, you will not be quizzed on, but you will be responsible to know them for the final. Okay. And we'll get more into that later. So, I'm going to start working on the quiz right now. Um, and I'm going to be uploading this video along with the PowerPoint presentation for chapter 9. Okay. So I will see you on video for chapter 10. I'm gonna stop recording now.